Hi, this is Jamey, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Snowtails. Snowtails is an older racing game where it's a game of husky dog racing. You have two dogs on front of your sled, and you're trying to get through a course before other players do to win the race. I played this at Geekway Mini back in January, so my details on the game are a little fuzzy, but I had a really good time playing the game. And I've refreshed myself on the rules a little bit to help out with this video. So hopefully I get this right. Here's what the game looks like. So you have this track that can vary based on the game. You have these nice tree tokens that go out on the track. I don't think we had realized at that point that they actually go out on the track, but we did realize that at some point in the game. And you have this little sled, and on your turn, you are choosing cards from your hand of equal value, and you are playing them on your sled. You have to choose at least one card. You can choose up to three. And there are three slots, two of which you can see here. Two are the lead dogs right here. You can choose either of those slots to put cards on. And a little off camera here, let's see if I can, down here under your sled is your break number. These cards all mean slightly different things based on what you do on your turn. So right now, as you can see in this example, there are 2 3s there. And because those are the same number, I am not going to drift at all. So drifting is a big part of this game. Drifting is how you steer, which is basically when one dog is pulling a little bit harder than the other. So if I had, say, a 4 right here, my sled at 4 is greater than 3, so my sled would need to drift one space to the left sometime during the movement on my turn. So that's drifting, and I love that. That's the first part I want to talk about because I love that mechanism. It's so thematic that you're kind of like weighing one side or the other based on the dogs. You're not just telling them to go one way or the other. You're actually kind of indicating which dog is going to pull harder on that turn. And it gives you a really interesting choice because there are many obstacles that you need to steer around in the game. But at any given time, you can't weave around obstacles because you can only have one side that's weighted more than the other. And so you can, on your turn, you can only really go one direction. You can go straight, left, or right. And at certain times on the track, you'll encounter trees. You don't want to bang into the side of the course, and so you really need to navigate that very carefully. And it leads to some very fun moments where you might shoot through like a diagonal path that you really need to get through an exact diagonal on one turn, and the other turn you shoot back the other way, or you go straight and you course correct. And so I really like how the cards reflect that steering mechanism. The other thing the cards do is this off-screen card, the break card, same as these other cards. It's a place where you can play one of these numerical cards. That determines how far you're going to move on your turn. And again, you can't choose that distance, that speed. The choice comes from the sum of these two cards minus your break card. So in this case, say the break card, I don't know if I can quite see it here, or the break value. It's not really a card down there, it's a value. Say it's a 2. 3 plus 3 is 6, minus 2 is 4. So it means that on my turn, I must move 4 spaces. And during that turn, with the example of me having a 4 here instead of a 3, I would need to drift exactly 1 space to the left. And this is where the second mechanism, or this mechanism of the braking, contributes to one of my other favorite things about the game, which is that going faster and farther isn't always better, because you really don't want to run into obstacles in this game. And because you can only steer to left or right or straight on your turn. You can only go one of those directions, or lean towards one of those directions. In racing games, typically going farther, faster is better. But in this game, I really like that you need to very carefully use that brake mechanism. I remember early on in my game of this, I didn't quite realize that, and so I reduced my brake to 1, which meant that I shot forward and hit a bunch of stuff. And so I really like that in a racing game, there's a mechanism that throughout the game, it's about precision more than it is about speed. You're trying to very precisely navigate around these obstacles and then at the right moment, shoot forward. And there are definitely some good moments of tension and good frustration in this game where you haven't planned ahead quite well enough and you like barely move on a turn where you wanted to move a lot, or where you move way too far, like I did in my first turn, and run into some obstacles. So I really like how, but I like that that's you have control over that. You have choices. You get to plan ahead. You get to see which cards you have in your hand, and you get to plan for that navigation, the left, right, the straight, and your actual speed. Those are my favorite mechanisms in Snowtails. If you have a different favorite mechanism in this game, this older race game, or if you have another favorite race game that has a mechanism where precision matters, I'd love to hear about that in the comments. Thanks.